lot of changes in the homework policy, starting with one of the pieces is a definition of homework being specific tasks, not long-term projects or papers, related to grade level indicators assigned by the teacher to be completed during non-school hours. So we have a clear definition of what homework is. The homework also will be assigned to the student to be completed independently, is one of the pieces in it, and that homework will be differentiated. Homework also, one of the changes in here is that homework assignments made by the teacher should not be predicated on the assumption that parents or guardians will provide the materials, the resources, or direct assistance to the instruction for their child, and that another piece of it is that homework will be provided either descriptive feedback or will involve students in the critiquing of their work and each other's work. And finally, homework will not receive a grade towards a report card grade. Those are the major changes within this homework policy. Questions?
I would just comment, this is coming out of policy committee where we discussed this, and I just want to make clear that the intent of the policy committee that went through these is not to de-emphasize homework. Homework is very important. We want to continue to stress homework as a way of practicing things that have been learned in class and extending and enriching the elements that have been learned in class. But the removal of the grade is to make sure that we're grading the student for their work and not for work of the parents or failures of the parents. And so while homework will not receive a grade if the board as a whole adopts this policy, the work that the student's supposed to be learning and practicing in their homework can be tested in the class in other ways, and that will receive a grade. That hopefully should provide the incentive for the student to want to do the homework and learn the materials. But there are concerns that when students are given assignments to do at home that often require extra resources, some students do not have those resources at home. Other students have, even if it doesn't require additional resources beyond bringing the book home and working on it, some parents will sit there with the student and make them do it over and over until they get it right. Then they come in and they've got 100% on that homework. Other students struggle through it on their own and turn in that first try of what they did on their own without any parental guidance. They may get a much lower grade. So we're focusing on grading the student fairly for their work, and that can be graded in the classroom. But I just wanted to emphasize, people will say, oh, you're not grading homework, why give homework? The schools don't think homework's important, they're being too easy, and that's not the goal of this policy change at all, as I understand it.
Right, yeah, and one of the major goals is that by grading homework, as much as we see that as motivating students to complete homework, it actually has an effect of having a negative impact disproportionately on certain groups of students. And those are the students that don't have the support or the systems at home or the resources at home that some other parents may have. And so it's punishing disproportionately certain groups of students. And so it doesn't mean that homework's being de-emphasized, and it doesn't mean that there's other ways to motivate students to get their homework done. Mrs. Andrew, you had a great idea at the last policy committee. I don't know if you want me to share it or not, but I thought it was a great idea.
Well, I was suggesting that pop quizzes or random quizzes could be given random, in my mind, is best because the students wouldn't know which homework assignment was going to result in a quiz the next day, and that would hopefully motivate them to complete each assignment, but.
Right, on an equal playing field.
Right.
Any
This
questions?
is a first reading.
I understand, whereas grading, some students give you a disadvantage, but we need to have some sort of stimulus to get kids to do homework, because if grading is not an encouragement, we have to have something there in place to make sure they are getting the practice that the homework is designed to give them. So I guess that's my concern, that if it's not a grade, that they won't care, the kids that we're trying to help.
I think another emphasis on this in the policy change partially addresses that, which is that the homework should be differentiated for each student. Some students are not motivated by homework because it's practice that they don't need, and so it's boring. It's just boring, and they don't see a reason to do it if they already know it. For students in that category, teachers need to design more enriching work for that student, so that, in other words, not every student in the class may have the same homework assignment based on the same lesson.
And I understand what you're saying, Dr. Kavithy. The idea of homework, though, is to try to reinforce. It's to try to help give the student, and this is key, to give the student and the teacher feedback about where they are. We call it more of a formative kind of feedback. That we're less interested in using it as a grade as we are as a checkpoint along the way to help adjust our instruction or help adjust our learning. And rather than use it as a carrot and stick kind of thing, where you grade and punish, it's much more effective if students are made partners in that assessment process. And at some point, they see the benefit being that it becomes an intrinsic motivation because they understand the benefit. Now, there'll be some that will say, I'll never be able to motivate them intrinsically. You know, that if I don't grade it, they won't turn in homework and I won't be able to help them. But I think that we have some pretty intelligent, talented folks, and we have a lot of support and a thing called assessment literacy to help with those kind of issues. And this policy, I'm hoping, will provide an opportunity to stimulate some conversations that maybe haven't been had fully yet about how to involve kids in the partnership of assessment.
Did you consider grading the homework but not including in the final grades, just so that at least it carries a temporary weight? You know what I mean? You can grade it but not include it in the actual report card.
I think some of the definition of homework, what we tried to capture here is that there's homework that is for practice and preparation or extension, but there's also, and the sky's the limit, on the projects that a teacher can give that can be graded, but those are designed over a period of time, and the students know what is expected of those particular projects. So it's kind of a fine line, but I was going to say the other thing that we talked about in the policy meeting was communication with teachers. This policy has come as, you know, our district is trying to tie instructional outcomes to the curriculum, and that is, you know, the basis of the homework, and so we just need to communicate that to teachers that this is a different way of working.
I mean, I have a feeling we're going to have more discussion. You're probably going to get some feedback on this.
Well, I would welcome that.
Discussion.
I know it's been discussed with some PLCs in the schools and the high school departments. Is that correct?
Yes, it has.
Because now is the time to, you know, improve this policy and the regulations. The policy would only be approved by the board, not the regulations? Is that your recommendation?
I would recommend that the policy be approved by the board. And it'll be the board's prerogative if they, as they read over these procedures, if you want to include them and that just means
Okay.
if they're ever changed, we got to keep bringing them back to the board.
Right.
And you don't have to make that decision tonight. We can do that when we come
Right,
back.
but that is a decision we make as we look at policy changes. But it seems that the homework regulations somewhat follow the other ones that we've had.
They are similar to the previous regulations that we have, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?